Friday greetings to all of you, and a big tweet out to everybody on the course, and a special mention to Ewan, Tom, Pooja, Will, Ellen, Charlie, Caitlin, Annabelle, Adama, Julius, Samuel, Simrandeep, Claudia, Avtar. Real pleasure to meet all of you over the last couple of weeks in Plato's Cafe. And we've started to look at this question together of what are the hopes of the communities that we've come from and going back to, or those communities that we're heading towards. I love the notion of maybe spending some months in Britain and some months in Greece in the year, and that kind of split lifestyle that we sometimes aspire to, the sunshine of Greece and the beautiful humour-inducing weather of the British Isles. So if you've come from India, Burnley, Bacup, Oldham, West Senegal, Nepal, Whitehaven, you've got some very different experiences which you're bringing to the community here. And we're saying, actually, what are those beliefs and values that shape our practice in business, in finance, in marketing, in human resources management? And so we're starting to question those, and it's been great to explore how we might bring change when we go back, having soaked ourselves in reflection, in getting that much bigger picture of what shaped us and what shaped the world, because so much of our degree study is understanding how power works in communities, how power works in nation states and globally. We talk a lot about politics, but really the conversation I'd like us to have is where is power at work? Where do we need to speak truth to power? And those are fantastic conversations. And there's a sense in which I think the three Bs come to mind, the three Bs, not Brahms, Beethoven or Bach, although they're quite interesting composers, I'm thinking, or Beatles, Bucks Fizz, and I can't think of a third B, but B-52s, showing my age, I'm sorry, but we're saying there's a sense in which that belonging to a community, diving in with both feet to belong to a community, whether it's a learning cohort in university or it's a town, village or society, the Institute of Directors or the Women's Institute. Belonging is very important, because I think that belongingness is where probably some of our leadership and change comes from, because we've joined in. To join in is to bring ourselves into a place where we can bring change. And I think belonging becomes important. And it might be on your study journey, there are groups around you that you can belong to, a book group, a chess society. So my challenge, I think, on this Friday is to think, who do you belong to? Which community, which group? Because I think that belonging then shapes our beliefs, because we're exposing ourselves, we're being quite vulnerable when we belong. And that does influence us. We start to see difference around us. We start to be challenged by the person across the room. And it's fine from the point of view, we may irritate the life out of somebody else across the room. We may just really annoy them. But there'll be somebody else who adores us and thinks we are the bee's knees, we are the answer. So that maturity that comes out of belonging, because we expose ourselves to being challenged, is really important. And in fact, it's the only true mirror, the only way we see ourselves, thinking of your personal and professional development activity, the only way we truly see ourselves is we expose ourselves to others and we see their reaction to us, and we're not knocked over. We kind of say, well, that's interesting. There's a lovely notion, or there's a lovely aspect to language, isn't there? And in the English language, you've got these very subtle differences between being disinterested and uninterested. To be uninterested, I don't want to know. But it's quite interesting to belong to groups, but to remain disinterested. So the reactions we get from others, they don't have to affect us. We can just be mildly interested and slightly disinterested to say, well, that's fine. That's going to happen. And that's part of our resilience that we're growing as part of our learning experience, that to be resilient is not about being mindlessly optimistic, but it's about recognizing that power is at work in communities, and power works in different ways, and we should expect that we're not going to encounter acceptance wherever we go, but we're going to have that resilience to be disinterested when things happen that we don't understand. That's where resilience tends to come from that disinterestedness, to be present, but to be curious rather than to be pushed out of the community space. So that's belonging, shapes our beliefs because we make ourselves vulnerable, but we grow in our resilience because of that as leaders. And then the thing that then comes out of that is very much a shift in who we are. So belonging, belief, and then becoming, to become. So the notion that we are going to stay the same is a spurious one, because we are human beings, to be or not to be, and part of that journey is becoming. So to belong shapes our beliefs, and then we start to become over time. Again, resilience as leaders and change agents, people who will shape cultures, shift the community towards a hopeful future. That's a becoming process in us. And many of us will experience anxiety as we enter into a belonging journey. And that anxiety is dealt with in a large sense by taking on the challenge of being present in a group, because that can sometimes be quite fear-inducing. But fear, interestingly, when we expose ourselves to the things that frighten us, that fear deals with anxiety, because anxiety, and the great English poet W.H. Auden, Wystan Hugh Auden, Auden, wrote an interesting essay called The Age of Anxiety, the 20th century being a century of anxiety, and anxiety being undifferentiated concerns. We don't know why we feel anxious, but the answer comes with, if we expose ourselves to things that terrify us sometimes and frighten us, our anxiety disappears, because we've got no time or energy. We're just dealing with the fact that we're in a community and we're having to speak, and to open our voice and to say things can be terrifying. And that's the great thing about university, isn't it? It's the place that's probably one of the best places to speak, to make mistakes, and then find other people pick you up and walk with you. So the journey of the belonging, beliefs, and becoming is overcapped by the movement from anxiety, oh dear, I don't feel great, to, oh my goodness, I'm terrified, I've got to speak at this meeting, and oh my god, and then afterwards, that was amazing. It's the parachute jump moment, isn't it? You're jumping out the aircraft and you're just praying for your parachute to open, and it opens, and you think, oh my goodness, and you're floating. But that adrenaline and that experience of being part of that community, and the fear that it creates, and then the joy and the bliss that comes afterwards, means we've not stayed the same. We have moved as leaders, and then it concentrates and increases our ability to make a difference. And then how people react to us, then we are able to engage them more maturely, and understand that their reaction to us, their resistance or their challenge, comes from not from us, but from their wider life. when people react in certain ways, it's not so much about us, it's about the fact that something else is going on in their world. And that's where that critical thinking comes from, that a reaction, a moment, is not true in a sense. It's revealing. People's reactions are revealing what else is going on in their world. And we just sometimes trigger something, and then our curiosity in them, our leaderful curiosity, to say, that's interesting what you said there. I could see the emotion and I could see the depth of feeling. Tell me more what you meant. And our curiosity as leaders goes beyond the negative or the difficult reaction, because our curiosity is beyond in the wider life of the other person or the community. And then that creates a powerful space. That's where power does get to work, in enabling other people to open up and say, the reason I really found what you said difficult is because 10 years ago this happened to me. I lost this, or this happened, and I'm still living with the experience. And so our journey as leaders and managers, marketers, human resource, international business management, is seeing beyond the moment to see that power is at work, and power is brought to bear. Good power is brought to bear when we recognize that people's and communities' reactions are from a context, from previous unseen events that are around us, but are sitting with us in our sensibilities. In other words, the way we like to be, as well as our emotions. Emotions can be balanced with sensibilities, the way we tend to react. Not just emotion, it's not just a psychological lens that we should look through, but also a language lens, a literary lens, a critical thinking lens, to see that. And that's what critical thinking is to recognize the moment is informed by the series of other moments that are around that event. That event is just a little window on a whole series of preceding historic activities and events that we carry with us. So just leave that with you on a Friday. The idea of belonging, of diving into community, revealing ourselves and letting that fear shape us and adapt our beliefs, and then we're on that journey of becoming. And that's not to say sometimes on a Friday night we just need to sleep and just we're wiped out. And don't forget, the learning journey can be so exhausting, and you need to rest. But your rocket fuel, I think, for us in the business management, finance, accounting, marketing, human resource, international business management community, is the journey of becoming over time. So I hope that's interesting. I hope that's just a food for thought about that resilience debate, which isn't about being passionate. It isn't about being optimistic. It's about recognizing that change comes about through a process, and hope is actually built in communities through that process of belonging, shaping and exposing our beliefs, and being open to change. And then the becomingness that comes out of that, we start to become and start to change and learn. So that's my encouragement this Friday. Think about which groups you will join in, be a joiner inner this weekend.